you saying, people?
How you doing?
Yeah, another episode of the Social Worker and Mentor.
Back again.
What about you been, man?
I'm good, you know. I'm a bit peckish, yeah, and a bit thirsty. So I was saying to Nana, super malt. So,
This guy.
one is from the Caribbean, and one, likes to drink specific Caribbean drinks, and but there's one called super malt that has a very
an amazing A1 taste.
acquired taste, and when I drink it, it's like something's missing.
But the other day, yeah, you sent me a WhatsApp picture of you buying Supermalt in Asda.
No, I did.
There you go. There you go.
But,
You see?
But listen, when you drink it, yeah, it's either Vimto or Ribena, yeah.
I don't mix.
Nice.
Man. I don't mix.
With a
I
little
don't
bit of
mix.
ice as well.
I don't mix.
Perfect.
Man. I don't mix, man. I don't mix.
No, you have to mix.
But I'm hungry.
I'm actually gonna bring it for you next week. We're gonna
Yeah. Bring it.
in camera. We're gonna taste it together.
Bring it.
You're gonna be like,
I mean, today,
yeah.
but I'm hungry though. Today is fufu day, bruv. It's fufu day. You know, my dad cooks fufu on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
so today's actually fufu day. So I'm gonna go.
So you either with your hand. And
Yes, with the hand,
the soup.
fufu,
Yeah, I know.
soup,
Yeah, bro.
hardcore cow foot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All them things there, innit?
Listen, like you see fufu, yeah, right. You're going to sleep, but you're not waking up until tomorrow.
Yeah,
afternoon,
you're not.
The thing just knocks you out, you know.
Knocks you out.
Yeah,
knocks
man.
you out. Knocks you on.
But yeah, man, culture.
100%.
But yeah, man. But how's everything though? Everything alright? Yeah.
Yeah, no, everything's been cool. You know, I mean, like I said, we're in Q3 of the year. You know, so time is literally going very quick. Yeah. I think it's kind of like we're actually doing things very quick. The amount of episodes that we're doing, it's good. You know,
No, but I'm happy because we got a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm actually excited. There's a few things that are actual game changers in our sort of like sector industry.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of great things about to happen, man. I'm looking forward to doing collaborations, projects.
Yeah.
Next year we're gonna have loads of guests. I think already we have a waiting list. Now I don't know whether you know.
No, you told me we do.
But I'm letting you know now.
Yeah.
We have a waiting list of about 70 guests.
Rah.
That's almost 100 people.
Rah.
Yeah.
And we got a bit more coming up, you know. More than that.
That's it.
More than that.
And the guests, it ranges from social care, education, CAMS, YOS workers,
Everybody.
care homes, residential homes, policemen. Oh my gosh, I could go on. There's just
And we want people to
massive
DM
variation,
me and Robert on our joint Insta. DM us if you want to come on, yeah? Because I've had a message to say, when are you going to have guests on?
Yeah.
And guys, we are going to have guests on, innit? Yeah? And we got some things coming up, innit?
Yeah,
We're not going to tell
100%,
you,
man.
but we got things coming up,
That's
innit?
it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but talking of
Wait. Before you go,
oh yeah.
you know what to do, guys?
Yep.
TikTok, YouTube, like, subscribe.
Yep.
We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok.
Yeah, and don't forget,
We're on YouTube.
it's free, you know.
Yeah.
You're not
And we're on
charged.
Spotify as well. Yeah,
That's
we're on
it, man.
Spotify. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we're going, Rob, go on.
But yeah, so going back to literally what you said before just now, we were talking about the last episode was about preparation, yeah?
That's right.
And how preparation is very important just in daily life. You waking up, having a structured timetable, but being prepared for job roles. And I know social workers have placements.
Yes, we do.
And is that trainee social workers or?
Oh, that's really good. Yeah. So somebody messaged to ask about, final year placements and about, how you prepare and also. So I think it's very good. So I'm going to go as in depth as I can. So I'll talk about me first. So before I qualified as a social worker, normally, whether you're doing like a master's program or a bachelor's program, you will have 2 placements. So when I was at university, I had 2 100-day placements. And
sorry, 2 100
100-day placements, yeah. So your second year, you have. So I'm talking for me because I know things have changed and university do things differently now. So I had 100-day placements, 2, and
why 100 days?
Because what it is that when you go into your placement, it gives you the opportunity to be assessed, but also it gives you the opportunity to kind of work in a potential area you might go into. Do you know what I mean? Maybe. Okay. So what universities tend to do is that their second and third year students, they apply to local authorities all across the country. So you could do a placement which is adults, you could do a placement which is children, you could do mental health, you could do statutory. Statutory is local authority and voluntary is more charity. Do you know what I mean? So it's important that social work students have the opportunity to get a taste of what work will be like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So with me, I had 2 100-day placements. And bro, to be honest with you, my placements they weren't frontline child protection, funny enough. And to be honest, I actually didn't want to go into frontline child protection.
Is there a reason why?
Yeah, because I was always kind of like scared, innit? I was scared. When you're at university and you're a student, and I know you're speaking about the media, but when you hear about social work stories, I said, nah, I'm definitely not going to do frontline child protection. Okay. So my 2 placements, my first one was with adults, adult mental health. And to be honest with you, mental health for me was a taboo. I was like, no, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. I was like, well, why? Yeah. Best placement ever. It really helped me in terms of working with people with mental health. Yeah. Then my final year one was working with ex-offenders. So I would go into prisons. I would meet, so offenders who came out of prison to rehabilitate back into community, or work with prisoners who were coming out. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So it was very, very good placements. Now, somebody asked me, what will happen if you don't get frontline local authority? So I'm going to be clear. So I've been a practice educator for 5 years. So students, if you're bachelor's or if you're a master's student or if you're a step-up student as well, because there are different social work programs to qualify.
So just to cut you there, right, yeah? So as a trainee, do you have a choice, or do you literally ask what you want, or does the placement... So for example, a uni and a local authority, who makes that decision in terms of the placement where they go?
It will depend if the local authority has got spaces available. So most people might go and say, I want to go into like a school, or I want to do like a local authority. And universities may have partnerships with local authorities to take students, because if that local authority assesses the student, that student may go on to be a social worker in that borough, and then go on to do like their first social work year. We call it ASYE, Assess Social Work Year in Employment. So sometimes, if you're lucky, you get what you want, but sometimes you may not. Sometimes you may get adults on your first placement, and you may get children on your second placement. But somebody asked me the question as to, does it affect your career prospects? So as a practice educator, for me, when I've taken students who haven't had statutory placement, I give them the opportunity, because I didn't have statutory. But when I interviewed for 4 London boroughs. 3 I was successful, 1 I wasn't. But they interviewed me, gave me an opportunity because my interview was good. And they said that, you were able to show how you transferred. And I got into children. So I think for students out there who are very much worried, it pretty much depends on the LA. But also, I would say to you, don't be put off if you don't get it, because it's about you showing that you can transfer your skills from one placement into a potential job. But I also think local authorities need to actually be giving students a chance. If they haven't got that statutory experience, local authorities need to give them a chance to gain that. And I think that's where a lot of students are feeling the block. But it's not like me. With me, any student who hasn't, because I'm still a practice educator, I give students opportunity. Because for me, it's like, well, I had it. 8 years on, this is where I'm at now. I want to give students the same opportunity, like shadowing and all those sorts of things.
So, all right. So there's 2 things I'm going to ask you, okay? And I think this is quite important. And I think also for our audience as well, because obviously there are some, they're not in our sector, but they're obviously...
That's right.
Listening and learning. Now, it took me a while to understand this, but I always knew there are different types of social workers, okay? Yeah?
There are.
All right? Now... you've got AST, you've got inclusion, you've got adults, you've got mental health,
you've got children,
you've got children,
voluntary, so hospital discharge.
Right.
You've got so many social workers, different sectors.
So there's a lot. So when that trainee social worker, when they say, okay, do you know what? I want to get into social work.
Right.
Do they know what exact social work that they want to do? Or is there a generic social worker role? Or do they always have to go into a specific sector, what we mentioned just now?
It's up to them, Rob, in terms of their preference. So some students who are trained to become social workers may go and say that I want to work specifically with children.
Right, okay.
So they may ask and go and say, I want a children's placement. I want to be at a school. I want to be in a local authority. Some might go and say, I want to do adults. So they may have an adult placement. It might be adult mental health. It might be a homeless sector. It depends, because the thing is with the social work degree, you can go into so many areas. as a social worker, I can work in YOS, youth offending service,
Yeah.
if I want to, because having a social work degree for youth offending, although it's not needed, it's good to have it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So it depends on
But you know though,
where social workers want to go.
you know, a lot of YOS workers are social workers.
Yeah. Yeah, and people don't know that. A lot of youth
yeah.
offending social officers are qualified social workers. They are. So you can be a social worker and actually go and do youth offending. But it pretty much, Rob, depends on students where they want to go. I think the main thing for me when students are going into their final year placement or their second year placement is that students have to be very, very proactive. And I think I understand that for a lot of students.
When you say proactive, can you elaborate a bit more?
So for me, my last student that I had, she's qualified now and she's doing her ASYE. So she was very proactive on placement, and she was kind of like willing to learn. I offered her shadowing.
Yeah.
She came to conferences with me. We did a little bit of court work together. We had our supervision, but she was even duty. She was very proactive. So I could see that her skills, like when she first started, her skills have just pretty much evolved. In fact, I think I would say one of the best students that I've had.
So when you're saying like she stepped up, are you talking in terms of confidence, her interaction? Like can you? Go a little bit more deep.
Deeper.
Sorry.
So
what do you mean?
Yeah. So it was more to do with her confidence, and it was more to do with the fact that it wasn't that she wanted cases, but like if I gave her a task, not that she'd never say no, but she'd want to learn, she'd want to do it. Yeah. So she'd ask me, say, Nana, you know what? I want to learn how to do this. You know, I want to come into, say, a strategy meeting. I want to come into a child in need meeting. I want to come to a conference. So she wanted to learn. Unfortunately for her and for me, our sector or our teams restructured. So she had the opportunity to do like a locality service and then do like an assessment service. But she was active in wanting to learn. And I know for a lot of students, it can be quite... what's what I'm looking for? Daunting, because also you've got a practice educator who's there and they have the power on your final year placement to pass or to fail you. I've never gone and failed a student. I think for me, it's hard for you to fail as a student unless you're not putting in the work.
So what advice would you give? Because, you know, one thing about local authority that I've seen more and more now, there's a lot of trainee social workers now on placements, which is a great thing.
It's excellent.
And I do believe as well that, you know, in the local authority, they would definitely gain the experience that they need because there's such a wide variation of, you know, roles that they could do in different sectors, you know, within education and social care. But what advice would you give someone who, okay, do you know what? I'm in my final year, I'm a couple of months away. What are the attributes? You know, what are the skills? What do they need to pass?
So what a student needs to pass a placement is, one, they've got to be proactive. Two, students have to also want to kind of shadow, because I think shadowing experiences also, it gives you a taste of, potentially what you'll be doing out there in the front line. I think students definitely, obviously, you have to listen, but students also, they need to also want to show a bit more autonomy, because in your final year as a practice educator, I'm not going to hold your hand for you. This is your final year. Yeah. And then after your 100 days placements, you get your social work degree. Okay. Then you apply for local authorities and then you're out there. Yeah. So for me, I don't want a student, or I've never had a student. I've never had a student whereby I want to hold your hand. I will be there to support you. I will give you the experiences. But I want to know, because bruv, on a deeper frequency, me as a practice educator, I have to pass you because I have to feel safe enough to know that, you know what, you've passed your placement, you are ready to go out there and be a social worker. Because when you become a social worker, you've got your manager and you've got your first years protected. After that, you got to be doing things on your own. Do you know what I'm saying to you? But I have to be, don't forget, my registration's on the line as well. So if I pass you and things go left, they will look at me to say, okay, so the practice educator, you knew you had all these concerns. Why did you pass that student if you knew they weren't capable? Do you know what I'm saying to you? I understand. So it's a lot. So I've done this for 5 years. I've never failed any student. Do you know what I'm saying to you? But your final year, it's an important year. You've got to be A1. Okay. You have to.
So how much importance is using their own initiative? How important is that?
It's important because...
also, being vulnerable. and being inexperienced?
I think it's important because, like I said, when I was a student on placement, your experience, in the very much beginning, you're building yourself up. So you're bound to be able to make mistakes. So you need to be using your placement as a time to actually go and make mistakes. And if you're fortunate enough to have a supervisor or practice educator who's supportive, you will have your supervision to actually address it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Because as a student, I'm not expecting you to get everything right. If you get things wrong, I'm not saying it's a safeguarding issue, but if you get things wrong, that you can learn from it. How did you learn from it? What was your thinking? Yeah. What is it you're going to do better? I always say to students that supervision and reflection is very important. There's a model that I've always used that I love for reflection. I think we need to do an episode on it. It's called Gibbs Reflective Cycle.
Oh, yeah.
You know about Gibbs, innit?
Yeah.
That circle. Yeah. So for every single student, Gibbs Reflective Cycle is very, very good for you to use because you can look at your event, how you were feeling, how you evaluate things, what your action plan is. So Gibbs Reflective Cycle is very, very good. I use it as a good template. I use it as a very, very, I even use it now. It's a good template.
Nice, very good.
As a manager, because you got to think, okay, I made this decision on here. Yeah. How was I feeling? Could I have done things differently? What will I do next time?
Especially with safeguarding issues.
Especially with safeguarding issues, yeah. So that's kind of like what my expectation is for students, because you need to obviously make sure you get it right. But I understand that for students, if you don't get the placement that you get, it can be demoralizing. Because the only thing why I'll say that is because, and I think local authorities need to change the approach. Some local authorities, sometimes when students don't always have maybe the frontline experience, they don't always go and take them. What local authorities need to understand is that students sometimes they don't get a choice in where they go. We shouldn't penalize them because they didn't get the experience. We should go and give them the experience. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so because this is quite interesting, right? The choice.
Yeah.
How important is the choice?
The choice, bro, is important because, like I said, for me, I had 2 voluntary placements. Mine were non-statutory. Yeah. But at the time when I did my placements, I knew that I was at a disadvantage. It was just fortunate that when I interviewed for a local authority for children, my interviews were very, very good. So I evidenced a lot of knowledge. So I'll say to students that if you have an adult placement and you're going to go into children, it's important that you evidence how you can transfer your skills. Because remember, working with children, you work with parents as well. The parents are the adults. You have to evidence what you've learned, how you're going to put what you've learned on your placement into practice. If you're going to go on, I know it's easier said than done.
Do you know what I'm saying? I want to ask you something, yeah? And this is a massive thing, definitely in most job roles anyway, right? Yeah. For a trainee, how important is confidence?
Confidence, Rob.
Because listen, you look. Social work is not. It's no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it's good.
Mentally and emotionally, social work is no joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what type of social work you're involved in.
Or how experienced you are.
It is no joke.
Yeah.
So how are, as a trainee, how are they being prepared mentally and emotionally? Because let's just keep it real, right? Yeah. Social work is not exactly a walk on the park every day. You're dealing with it's a challenging job. It's day in, day out.
It's very, very. So that's why the students.
Because I work for students. I worry about the mental side of things.
Yeah, Rob, you're right. Because
who's preparing them for that?
Well, obviously, at university. So I had a module called preparation for practice. You have that at university, and you have your placement. But you're right. It is no joke. And when you go into placement, like initially when you get started, you feel as though, I don't really know what I'm doing. You got to get your team. And you have to be confident enough to go and ask for, experience, because not everyone is going to want to give it to you. Yeah. You have to be able to do it. Confidence is important, but as a student, it's also important to be vulnerable, because on your placement, 100%. If you're protected, that's where you can make mistakes so you can learn from it. I know for me, when I had my placements, I had a very good practice educator, and it does help. Being a supportive practice educator is important for students because, like I said, I'm aware, I know, Rob, as a practice educator, how much power I have. So when I go to students at universities, I tell them, I know how much power I have to fail you or defer you. I'm aware of that. But my approach with students, I've never being heavy-handed. The reason why, because I've been there,
yeah.
and I always want to give students the good support that I had. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So with students, I never go in and think to myself, oh, you made a mistake. Why have you gone down? Why have you gone down? Or give students the run around. Oh, can you do this for me? Because some practice educators, I'm not gonna lie, they take the piss. They know they got a student. They let them do all these sorts of things and all. Nah, you know, when my student was with me, I did things with her. And what you do on your final placement is that you have your initial meeting, you have your midway review, which looks at how you're doing midway. Because at midway review, Rob, you can fail a student there and then and say, nah, you got 50 days, I can't pass you. And then you have your final review, whereby your portfolio is handed into the practice educator, and you look at everything. And then you got your direct observations. Yeah. You've got a lot of things that you have to do as student to evidence. So you will get the support, but like I said, as a practice educator, don't be taking the piss out of students.
Yeah. Do you know as well? You know, I'm happy that we're actually discussing this, because this would be really beneficial and great for trainee social workers.
Yeah, I really want them to have
watch this as well, because what it is as well. I just think, we live in a cutthroat world right now. Yeah,
people don't want to give you chances,
right? And you got to be thick-skinned.
You do.
As we've been talking, week in, week out about different scenarios, whatnot. And I'm happy that we talk about these things, but for our up and coming trainee social workers, what assurances would you give them in terms of that? Do you know what? You are going to be okay? Do you know what? It might be tough, but you know what? You're going to be fine. So what advice and assurances would you give them?
I would say to students, I'm not going to lie to you. Placements will be tough. Your final year, many students will have the dissertation. They have to be able to get the balance right as well. You have a lot to do in terms of your direct observations, your midway, your final report. And I know you have to impress your practice educator. You have a lot. But what I would say is be organised. Don't be leaving things late to the last minute.
Report
writing. In your very, very first week or so, ask for shadowing opportunities. If you're in a local authority or whatever placement you're in, ask for shadowing opportunities early. Because don't forget, bruv, placement, you get a caseload, You get a caseload. So somebody has to have oversight of that. So my student, she had a caseload, and what I did is that I built her up.
How much is a caseload?
So I didn't give my student any more than, say, maybe like 10 children at a time. Yeah, any more than 10 children. But what I'll say to you is that I built her up over time. So as you go through your placement, you should be getting a big case. Not to the point where you take the piss, but you should be getting a lot more complex cases. Because with my student, I prepared her to be ready. So where she is right now, she's got no problem because she's done it. But what I did is that I was with her. So her first visit, for example, I went with her. Her first, say, child protection inquiry, I went with her. I wouldn't go and leave her like that. So that's what I did. So because I had the time, I made sure my diary was very much available.
Tailored to them.
Yeah, she shared her diary. So, and even like she had dissertation, she did it because I want to make sure she's prepared. So now she's qualified. Bruv, she's flying. Yeah. So I'm saying to you, I've done for every student. They're flying.
That's fantastic.
They're flying.
I think this is also quite important to mention as well. A social worker's role, very much, there's a massive amount of paperwork.
There is.
Massive. And it actually puts people off. Yeah, it actually makes social workers actually leave. What advice would you give to newcomers, new trainees regarding
the paperwork?
You're gonna
that one, bro.
The
paperwork is. I said it last time. A social worker's trade is never full. As a student, you'll be protected, but expect that you're gonna have a lot of stuff to do. Be prepared for it because it's very, very important. Because as a student, remember, it's not just Rob about your placement. You got to pass your university modules as well. So make sure you have the balance right. So in my final year,
balance.
Yeah, I was working part time as well. So, bruv, I was working. Yeah, I had my little retail job, but I went to a placement, and I was doing placement during the Christmas and Easter back then.
Yeah,
I know it's a bit more structured, but also what's important as well, preparation, emotional and mental health, and resilience for students. Now,
especially for a social worker,
for students,
100%.
When you are on placement, placement mentally is going to be tough. Physically, it's going to be tiring because you're almost as if in a social role. And remember, you're going to have a title as a student social worker. You're working with families. Student social worker. So you work for the local authority. So whether you're a student or not, you work for the local authority. Do you know what I mean? You have to make sure you remember that. So emotional resilience is very important. As a student on your final placement, you might get tested. You might be a student who's young, and people will test you. People will test you in terms of your work that you're doing. You have to be able to hold your own. Because, bruv, even me, as a team manager, I'm a young team manager, and there's times where I've been tested. But I got experience and everything behind me. And as a student, I got tested. But my thing was that I held my own. And if you got a good practice educator, they should do work with you on how to deal with professional conflict. But it depends on what area. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Rob, all these things, it's important. Bro, I've got to say this.
It's a necessity to be honest with you. Because let me tell you something right here, bruv. Like, as I said before, social work, being a social worker or working in social care, it's no joke.
No, it isn't.
And as I said before, like, it's not about sugarcoating it, right? Yeah. No. It is mentally and emotionally tough at times.
It's draining.
There's no point. Like, it's not an easy job. Let's just keep it real.
It's not.
So the thing is, right? Yeah. If you're not mentally tough as a person, then you know you might as well just like change and I think for me it's, you know, we spoke about preparation in our last episode. Preparation, and as you said just now, getting the right amount of sleep. You know, food, well-being, just looking after yourself and everything. You know, your timetable, your schedule, making sure that you have enough time to, like, you know, write your reports or your home visits, and, you know, traveling, getting there on time, etc., etc. You know, so you've got to be on point, haven't you, man?
You have to be very on point. And I think for me, you know, we've had, Rob, I know in the comments, we've had a lot of students who've reached out. And to be honest with you, I'll say to students on placement, masters, bachelors, you can reach out to me and Rob, because like I said, I am a practice educator. So I will be able to tell you what you need to do and what you expect. You know what I'm saying to you? Because I think it's important that students hear it from the horse's mouth.
100%.
So I don't mind if students want to speak to me. You know, bro, like I said, I go to universities as well. So if the unis want to get at me and Rob, you can. Because I think it's important that you get people who are actually doing the role live. You know, but for any students, you know, I'm happy for you guys to be like, Nana, listen, I'm a final year student, ABC 1, 2, 3. Or just re-listen to this podcast. You know, this will be on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, but I think, Rob, going forward, because I think episodes like this, I think it's important that we make trainee teachers.
It's a necessity.
Aware, trainee social workers, trainees. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
And what we'll do, as I said before, when we start to have a guest from January, we'll invite 2 on.
Yeah,
it'd be nice because what it is, I think sometimes when you've got a official qualified social worker next to a trainee social worker, it's nice for you to ask, them to ask.
Yeah.
The audience sees it and they're thinking, "Oh, I feel a bit better now." Do you understand?
Yeah, of course.
Because it must be daunting, you know.
It is. And I say to students, like, don't give up when you're feeling low. Don't give up. But like I said, and I'm saying it because I need to say it. I'm aware that there's practice educators who you guys sometimes take the piss out of your students. That needs to stop. Our students are the next generation of social workers, and we already know how difficult it is in this job. So let our students grow. Let them be vulnerable. Let them make mistakes.
That's it.
Don't give them the runaround because you're going to do it. No. Support them. Have your supervision. And for students, if you ain't having your supervision, pull it a practice educator. Pull up your practice educator and tell them, I'm not having supervision. And tell them, if you feel unsupported, tell them. And
no. What he means is, listen, sit down. I don't like how you're moving, you know.
Right? Put your PE in check.
Right,
and I'm saying that. Bro, I told my student, I said to her, listen, if I'm moving left... Nana, you're moving left.
Put him up.
I haven't had supervision.
Make them know.
It's important.
We've all got to get checked.
Everybody. So anyway, so guys, thank you very much. I think, Rob, this is a good episode.
Yeah.
But like I said, people, you can like, subscribe, go into Spotify, follow myself and Rob. Students, you can DM us. You know, we're available. You know. So
that's it. And you know, anyone that wants to collaborate, reach out to us. We're here. We're here. Okay, all right. We're here to give back. We're here to just, you know, do what's not been done. It's very, I don't, as I said before, I don't really see, you know, I can imagine our podcasts being used in local authority or in education facilities.
And I think it should.
As training.
Yeah, and I think it should. And I think it should. And you know what, I'm going to say this. Our podcast, to be honest with you, if students want to use it as their CPD,
why not?
use it as CPD. I'm putting it out there. Use this as CPD because or social workers, because all these things is important. Listen, I'm going to use my podcast as CPD. You know, it's CPD.
Yeah, and listen, but when you do, don't drink super malt, because it don't taste too right.
I allowed this guy. Anyway.
All right,
But
listen, people, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon.
Cheers. Take care, man. Take care.